Scott Jennings from CNN is back at it again. They were talking about predictions that they had for Donald Trump's presidency, and of course, leftist media went on and on about all the awful things that were going to happen, and then Scott Jennings stepped in and gave him this bombshell.
There are 7 Americans right now in dungeons in Gaza. If Hamas does not have them walking and talking on American soil before Donald Trump is president, they will have hell to pay, and I'm looking for that to happen in the next 70 days.
Here, a couple things. Number one, if I was over in Tehran and I had just hacked and tried to assassinate Donald Trump and now he's fixing to take over the United States military again, I'd probably be a little worried. On the domestic front, there's a political science term for what Republicans did this week. It's called a country butt whooping. And they have a mandate to govern. And one thing I want to see them do is get a handle on the bureaucracy. They're meeting at the Pentagon right now about possibly thwarting Donald Trump. You've got a rogue FEMA employee out here. We're not going to give aid to people with Donald Trump signs. The bureaucracy works for the people elect the leaders, and I want to see Donald Trump follow through on this idea of taming the federal bureaucracy.
That kind of rhetoric used at the beginning of that clip. If our hostages, and this wasn't Scott Jennings that said this, by the way, this was the other panelist, I forget his name, but he was based as well. If our hostages, this is what he said, are walking and talking on American soil by next week, then you're safe. And if not, you're going to have hell to pay. That kind of rhetoric right there is what creates world peace with a dominant America. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why we elected Donald Trump. For someone incredibly political like me, and maybe you're political as well, this is why we elected him. But even for those who are not political, who are just everyday Americans, and they just want their dollar to go a little further, they want their kids to be safe, they don't want there to be World War III, this is the reason why they elected Donald Trump. Again, from the person that's the most knowledgeable about politics to the least knowledgeable, it's clear that this is the kind of foreign policy person that Donald Trump is, and it's awesome. We need a bully in the White House when we're up against people like Xi Jinping and Putin and Hamas, and I think Donald Trump will do it. It's the reason why it's one of the biggest reasons I voted for him, and I think it's one of the most specific things because people are talking about kind of this mandate that Americans have given to Donald Trump. I think that's true. I think this is one of the most specific parts of that mandate that Americans are not just asking, but again, demanding from Donald Trump. Now, in terms of what Scott Jennings is actually saying, on the second half, the bureaucrats are freaking out right now. I mean, he talked about foreign policy, but then he talked about the bureaucracy. They're freaking out right now. You've got Donald Trump whipping out these amazing cabinet positions, like every single day, every day, right? I mean, this is like how, I said Halloween. It's like Christmas right now. It's not Halloween. It's like Christmas. Every day we're waking up and we're hearing, Kristi Noem we're replacing Mayorkas as the Homeland Security, as the head of Homeland Security with Kristi Noem. Sign me up for that. Like, holy cow. Well, you're saying we're going to get rid of Antony Blinken, who is the current Secretary of State. You might not even know his name, but because he's such a disaster. We're going to replace him with Marco Rubio. It's Christmas Day, and it's going to keep happening probably for the next few weeks. We're going to hear people like Vivek Ramaswamy, Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, RFK Jr. that we haven't even heard about get their official assignments. And it's awesome, and the bureaucrats are freaking out right now. And the beauty of all of it is that we have a Republican Senate majority that's quite big, so they can actually approve these these cabinet positions, because the Senate does indeed have to approve in a majority of who sits on these important positions. Now, if there was a Democrat in charge of the Senate, if it was 52 to 48 for the Democrats, then we'd be in trouble, because then what would happen is essentially there'd be a negotiation between Donald Trump and the Democrats, and we'd get these kind of uniparty bureaucrats like we did, frankly, in 2016. But this time, it's just not happening. It's very different. And by the way, there's some this is really good news. There's some less establishment Democrats right now who are very happy about this as well. It's not just Republicans. John Fetterman actually tweeted today that he was happy about Marco Rubio and how he was likely going to be Secretary of State. And he said that he would vote for him. And me and John Fetterman have plenty of disagreements. But the fact that even he is willing to say that a lot of these people that Donald Trump are putting in are fantastic decisions, I think that's a really great sign for the unity that America has been craving so much, and that a lot of the surrogates for Donald Trump have been talking about. J.D. Vance, Vivek Ramaswamy, these people have, and Elon Musk, RFK Jr., they're talking about this unity in America. And I think we're seeing it with a lot of these cabinet positions that Donald Trump are picking. So it's going to be really exciting to see all of the changes from Donald Trump and how he's going to completely change our government over the next 4 years.